Let's get started. Help me in joining star and executive producer Seth Rogen and co-creators Francesca Delbanco and Stoller. Yes. They saw your show on the big screen.
I know.
Hello.
Before we get started, Seth, congratulations on the massive Emmy haul for your other Apple show, The Studio. Amazing.
Thank you. My mother was very excited.
I promise I have serious questions, but my first one is, can you tell me about this, Seth?
Yeah. Wow, you got one. Is that the one?
It's not the one, and I'm really sad because it doesn't fit my phone.
Oh, no. I'm sorry. I would get a new phone. Apple? Come on. Yeah. I was like, I like the idea of a silly cell phone case. In the first season, I had like a sort of silly cell phone case. And this season, I was like, what if I had a really silly cell phone case? And this, I always thought it was funny because I'm always having like serious, well, I'm not always, but like when I'm having like these intense, serious conversations with this dumb thing. It's so phallic, and it could not feel more like a sex toy. It's like made of like sex toy silicone, whatever the fuck that is. You touch it. I've never even felt a sex toy, and I touch that, and I assume
This is veered off course really fast.
that's what a sex toy feels like. The LA Times brought this on themselves.
Also, everyone would touch it.
Everyone. It would get dirty on set. They'd have to come clean it, which was a disgusting act. And I always felt bad for the props person who'd have to come clean the banana. I'm sorry. I'm right.
Was there an alternative, an alt?
There was a whole tray.
There's a bunch of them. Yeah, I like that one.
You like that?
I liked it had a little comedic bounce to it. But it made people uncomfortable on set. And if there was children in the scene, I wouldn't use it.
Fair. Nick has just lost it from here. He's like, what? I want to get started just to set the scene here, Francesca and Nicholas. If you could talk about like, what was it about this type of friendship that felt like important to see right now? And who inspired the dynamic between Will and Sylvia?
Well, this was your idea, and it came more from your life than mine.
Yeah. I have some very close old friends who are guys, and they were old friends of mine from an earlier time of life, like college and in my 20s. And I felt like as life went on and we all grew up and kind of lived our grown-up lives, it was harder and harder to maintain those friendships like in the spirit in which they had originated. And I thought it would be kind of like fun and also sort of a wish fulfillment type show to imagine going back to a time in your life where you had those kinds of like intense and super intimate platonic friendships, and could spend a lot of time on them. And that was sort of the idea for it.
How did you feel about those types of relationships?
I mean, what's funny is like I was always like when I met her, I met her through guy friends that she was friends with, but the world would often respond like, this is weird. And so like of every year or two she goes to Vegas with two of her guy friends, and I'll be like going to like a kid's birthday party or something, and they'll be like, where's Francesca? And I'll be like, she's in Vegas with two of her guy friends, and everyone is like, what? Like they can't understand, like they don't understand like what it is. And it's to me it just seemed like a really interesting thing to explore, because it doesn't really make sense that there should be these gender divisions in terms of friendship.
Seth, how do you feel about it? And do you think there's a difference or a different type of boundary you need with platonic friendships of opposite sex when you're single versus when you're married? And are there things that Will and Sylvia do or discuss that would be a hard no for you as a married man?
Yes. I don't think I would discuss my sex life, for example, with, maybe some, but no, not generally. I probably wouldn't talk about my sex life with my wife, with other female friends who are not, unless I had like a clear, go do this, unless I was sent to do it. And I can't imagine why she would send me to do it, but that is the only circumstance I would do it. Yeah,
Banana phone.
yeah, exactly.
Case,
And Will is a much less functional person than I am, I think. This Q&A is not any, strong indicator of that. But yeah, but I do have a lot of female friends. I think in general I have better boundaries than Will, and I live a much better relationship with my actual wife than Will has ever been in with anyone on the show, and so I'm not like looking for advice from my friends who are generally dumber than I am in real life and are generally in worse relationships than I am. So I'm not looking for their advice. But yeah, I think I have a lot of friends who are women who I go do normal platonic things with, and it's never been an issue. But my wife's not allowed to hang out with men. That's not true. She is. But she chooses not to. Out of respect for my feelings. Also not true. She does.
Francesca and Nicholas, what are the challenges of depicting a platonic relationship in an era where, especially on TV, we love to ship characters together? How do you make rooting for just friends be as dynamic as a will they, won't they?
I mean, it's a challenge. It's definitely a challenge in the writers' room because, I mean, all shows either end with sex or murder, and this show doesn't really have either of them.
Best ones end with both.
We're pitching a show called Sex Murder.
Ryan Murphy's doing it. Too right.
He jumped on it.
Yeah, I don't think we realized that it would be the creative challenge that it turned out to be. It seemed like a kind of simple idea, like Jerry and Elaine, or like there have been a lot of male and female friendships and they're fun and that's the show. And then like when we got into it, we were like, well, these two can never hook up. What is going to be the driving tension in the show? How are we going to sustain an entire 10 episode season without any kind of that tension? But it's been a very cool project to try to figure it out and to try to imagine what the circles are that, the ripples of their friendship can create tension in different parts of their lives. And they can have their own tensions and their other relationships that they turn to each other to kind of try to work out. And it's been interesting and I think kind of fulfilling to just be like, they will absolutely never get together. That is not part of the show. It's the mystery of it is off the table. It's not a will they or won't they in any way. And how can we still kind of keep people interested?
And it makes us kind of in the writer's room dig deeper than we might normally to find those kind of honest stories about midlife versus just being like, now they hook up, now now that person's murdered. There's so we kind of end up in unique story areas, I think, because of the parameters we've put on ourselves.
Well, and the will they, won't they here is, will they be able to maintain this friendship being so codependent and because there's not the boundaries? And I'm curious what sort of debates that then ignites in the room. What are you debating of? How do we keep them sort of how do we show those real dimensions of a friendship where you're codependent, but then you have a little tiff and then you come back together? How many times you can do that?
Yeah, I mean, that's really the balance of the season, I think, is you can't do it in every episode because it becomes so repetitive. But there are certain flashpoints that I feel like a lot of friendships have in common. How much do you say to someone about what's going on in their life? How real are you if you just don't like their partner? How much do you say if someone is making a terrible decision and you know it to be terrible and you love them and you're your friend, but they're not your husband or wife? Do you get involved? That kind of stuff is real and also funny, and we have found can kind of generate story.
Would Seth have told Charlie, yeah, you should quit your job?
Probably yes. Unfortunately, that's one I would. I mean, yeah, I'm always for burning it all down. I have told people to quit their jobs.
Okay.
Thank God no one listens to me in real life. Oh no. But that is something I would never tell my friend I don't like their partner though. I did that once. And it was very stupid because they got back together and then he told her I told her that. And then she hated me. So don't do that.
We do see how Will has to navigate, this relationship that he has in relation to Sylvia, and he's embarrassed by who he is, Penguini. I want to talk about Penguini too. Um, so good. But how did you feel about like this sort of thing that he's confronting of how do I create these boundaries, but I'm also not happy here. This isn't the relationship I thought it was.
Yeah, I mean, I think Will is someone who like needs help, and makes poor choices and needs guidance and relies on it, and then gets resentful when people tell him what to do when it isn't the thing he was doing. And I have a lot of friends exactly like this who are constantly asking for people's advice and people's take, and then when you tell them, they're really mad about it, to the point that they maybe even like cut you out. And I do think that is like truly in life one of the greatest balances is like support versus like tough love, and like when are you honest with your friends and loved ones, and when do you just sort of like build them up and tell them what they maybe want to hear versus what they need to hear, and so all that is stuff that is like I so relate to, and I think telling someone to quit a job they hate is relatively a simple thing to do, I think, on the grand scale of things. But yes, telling someone to not get married because you don't think their sex life is what it should be, that's like I would never fucking touch that one personally, but I think if I had friends who truly asked me about it and who really brought me into that, I probably would. But I think that but like that to me is what the show captures so well, is it's this conflict I feel on a daily basis with the people in my life. Is like, how honest should I be with you? And is it just for my own, so I feel cool for being honest, or am I actually trying to help the person? Is the person actually going to benefit from my honesty, or am I going to kind of benefit from my honesty in like a kind of materialistic way? You know what I mean? That's something I try to think about a lot, and I think again is sort of reflected in the show well.
Well, we see how the season ends, which is Will and Sylvia discussing getting into business together. You've done plenty of collaborations and work with close friends. I'm curious what advice you would give to Will in this situation. And clearly he won't take it, but...
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, he probably shouldn't do it. He seems to harbor, we're both harbor, they take things very personally. I imagine it would be, I mean, I hope for comedy's sake it is catastrophic, which is what I feel it would be. And it's hard. I'm again, I think relatively more well-adjusted than Will, and it's really hard to work with your friends. I mean, I've been friends with them for 20-something years, and it's easy. I find it very easy. But we have other friends that we're both friends with that we would never work with. Right? Yeah, and we're all thinking of the same person right now.
100%. We all instantly like ESP. We're like, and we love them.
And I'm currently working with them, actually. So I even break the rule.
But talk about, Francesca and Nicholas, talk about arriving there and what you are excited to explore in them working in this different way together.
I mean, the idea of mixing business and friendship just seems like a hilarious area. There's so many ways that can go wrong. There's so many ways that can go right. I think another like part of the story that we're always breaking is that they each, Will and Sylvia each have their own kind of problems that they're dealing with in each season, and that's like, and then they kind of help each other. And I think if they have an issue with each other, it's probably that they don't know where their boundaries are, but they actually are, I think. It's a healthy friendship with some boundary issues. So it's always trying to figure out what the separate problems are between in terms of what their own personal issues are.
I want to talk about some of the fun moments from this finale. I mentioned it backstage, the Celsius bit. Francesca, I think you said that was about 15 pages.
It really went on for way too long. It probably also does in the show, but we just really were very entertained by it.
Well, it's Ron Weiner who found that idea. I think it might be on the Celsius website, but it says it's proven to function. Like it wasn't. They're clinically proven to function.
But it was already in there when he wrote Clinic. Like we had already gotten to Celsius.
We got into Celsius, but then he was like on the website. We were like, oh my God, this clinically proven to function thing is so funny. And Ron was like, yeah, it's on their website. It says it's clinically proven to function.
Were they like adamant this can't be a Mr. Big situation? No one can die from this?
Yeah, what Celsius have parameters?
Does it have what?
I said we didn't ask Celsius permission to say all this shit, did we?
I don't think so.
No, you can say anything about Celsius.
Oh,
it's crazy.
he got paid $100,000 for
Yeah,
that.
to say all that stuff. Yeah.
There's a lot of guest stars that roll through this season. Adie Bryant, Beck Bennett, Kyle Mooney, Milo Manheim. But can we talk about getting Mr. Bobby Cannavale as a self-pleasuring Brett Coyote? Do you prep Rose first? Or how do you make that ask knowing what you're going to ask him to do?
I called Rose and it was the most apologetic pitch, I think, I was like, we have this idea. I don't know if Bobby would want to do it. He has to mimic masturbating a lot. And that was the conversation. And she was like, he'll think it's really funny. And then I talked to him and he was into it.
But it still felt kind of bad when he arrived on set, like legend of the American stage, Bobby Cannavale. And we were like, put on this hat and go stand over there and make this face. But he was very game.
Were you comparing faces, Seth?
No, I wasn't there. I gave him his prime seat in those days. I did not show up. Yes, I respected his process.
We know you're very skilled at the buddy comedy genre, Seth, but I'm curious what it's like to work with Miss Rose Byrne. What does she bring out of you as a scene partner, and what is it like sort of establishing that dynamic between Will and Sylvia, because you guys go places that are just so fun to watch?
I mean, what's so fun about working with Rose is she she surprises me on a daily basis with what she does, and she is so funny, and she constantly is like reaching new levels within the scene, and she makes me laugh so hard, and and our rhythms have really kind of coalesced, I guess you would say, and we really have a good sense of one another's kind of timing and references and things like that, but she's like, I rewatched the episodes just because I think what she's doing is so funny, and it's not like she really goes for it, which to me is fun. And I work with a lot of people who are incredibly skilled comedians who are comfortable really going for it, and then you work with some people who think I'll just play to the truth of the scene and that will make it funny. And the truth is that's not how to make something really funny. That's how to make something sort of funny. And in order to make something really funny, you really have to try to make it very funny. And it won't just happen by accident. You have to push the comedic parameters of the scene. And she really does that. And she goes way too far a lot, which is my favorite thing to watch, because it's crazy what she'll do sometimes, but she's totally comfortable doing it. And it's so fun, and it's a very joyous, fun process. But watching her is every day we would shoot a scene and I would just be like, I can't believe what she's doing right now. It's so funny and so weird and so not what I expected, that it makes me want to be funnier, and it makes me want to compliment what she's doing, but she's really firing on all cylinders. It's impressive to watch,
I want to talk about there's many standout moments, but I'm going to mention 3, and I just want to know what stands out to you about filming those, which is the blowing out of the eye, the kayaking in the LA River, and the exploding tanks of beer. Tell me a memory that stands out from any one of those or all 3.
The LA River day was really We were really making ourselves laugh. I remember when there was a joke we did where I like pulled a condom out of my mouth. I think like we were doing these jokes of drinking the river water, and like we were really making ourselves laugh. And it was really.
Condom was on your head.
Yeah, that's right. I like dumped a hat. I like dumped a hat full of water on my head, and there was a condom on it. And Carla eating feathers and stuff like that, and it was like. We were making ourselves laugh that day. That was a fun time.
I should preface this by saying I love Los Angeles. I've lived here longer than anywhere. One of our writers, an old friend, Allie Rushfield, who we've known since Undeclared forever. We were in the writers' room, and she was like, "I just spent Saturday at the LA River. It's beautiful. You should go. You got to go to the LA River." And I was like, "Okay." And like you were away or something, and so I went. I took the kids to the LA River. It was empty. I'm not a scared of crime guy. I was like, we're going to get fucking murdered. There was like a weird guy on a skateboard, like a weird guy. And like, I was like, this sucks. And my kids who don't know, they're like, this is so cool. And there was a heron. There was like some beautiful, it was also weird because then there was a beautiful heron. And then I was like, we got to get the fuck out of here. But I was trying to be like mellow because I don't want to freak out my kids. So then we went to like.
Very Sylvia.
And then on Monday, like Allie was like, how did you like it? I was like, the LA River fucking sucked. What are you talking about?
We got to go there.
And that turned into the story.
Yeah. And I'm all like, Will, I think it's beautiful. I went to Lingua Franca just yesterday and walked around with my wife. It's beautiful. Frogtown, nice paths along the river.
It's like this close. It's this close to me. But we went on an off day. I love Los.
I stepped in human shit at one point, but other than that, it was very beautiful. You know when it's that.
It was like empty and desolate, like pre-Rumble, like what I imagine a pre-Rumble silence would be.
How do you? I mean, first, you're swapping directing duties. So what's a moment that stands out for you both of watching what they can deliver in a scene?
I mean, I don't want to go back to it, but we really both remember the LA River day. I mean, that was just such a fun day because we were all on boats and it was kind of like uncomfortable. There's a lot of gear. You're in the beating sun and it's like kind of elaborate technically to do it. But it was unfolding before the two of us like we were watching a live play that was the funniest thing we'd ever seen.
So much gear and money is spent to do the stupidest series of jokes.
And as more ideas kept coming, like, give me a condom, like, give us a feather, we were experiencing it with the joy of just, like, viewers.
Hair. I remember they went out and bought a wig just so I like, at one point I just put like a mouthful of hair out of my mouth. Even that doing it, I was like, this is fucking gross.
Well, the show, we very much get a sense of Ellie's presence, but it also doesn't beat us over the head with it. But Seth or any of Francesca or Nicholas, are there places you want to see on Platonic that you're pushing for?
I'm not pushing for anything.
Yeah, I mean, it usually is.
Really thought you were gonna
It's
say
usually
Jax.
story
It's over.
driven.
Yeah, Jax's, it's closed.
It's
Something about her sandwiches, maybe.
Yes.
Yeah.
See?
These are Bravo references.
They like totally went blank on that.
I know. When you start talking Bravo, it's like another language. Yeah.
But are there places you have in mind or want to hit at some point?
I mean, I guess we just have to write the season and see where it ends up. We don't, I feel like it is so fun and exciting to get to shoot here and to put real stories exactly where they belong in the city, if that makes sense. So it's not so much like it would be so cool to shoot at the lampposts at LACMA as it is like this scene really belongs here. But we feel so lucky to shoot it here. And we kind of realized this year, like we really shoot it all over the area. We shot in Malibu this season. We shot, I mean, all the way, we were in like Torrance, we're in the South Bay, we were in Palos Verdes, we're all over, and it feels like that is important to the show. Like we couldn't do it just anywhere.
I can't have a panel like this, Seth, and not talk about Will's wardrobe.
Yeah.
And you've also worked with costume designer Cameron Lennox on the studio. Talk to me about how much input, how much conversation you're having about Will's wardrobe over the course of the season, because I'm still thinking about the suit from the premiere of
The shorts suit.
short suit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a weird. Yeah, I mean, it's not how I dress. It was, and it wasn't really. I don't think it was written to be dressed in any particular way. When I first read the script, I'm always just thinking like he's sort of a guy having a midlife crisis. He works in the arts district. He's like probably friends with a bunch of people who own like cool hip clothing stores. I know people who work in bars and restaurants and that kind of hospitality field, and especially in LA, there actually is like a community. It's like, like the guy who owns like the hat store around the street comes to my bar, and the person who owns like the t-shirt store and the skate shop and this and that. And so I kind of had this image that he had this like community of kind of like cool LA like vendors who he could kind of swap with and whose clothes he wore, and honestly, yeah, like and I would see people dressed. This guy's dressed exactly like me.
That
and like
is in the show.
like
That's
it's
correct.
a real thing. There are men in their 40s who dress like this. And so I just thought I thought that would be a funny look and a strong look, and I was very whenever you're dressing funny, you're like, oh, I better be really funny now, because you can't let the clothes be funnier than you are, and so yeah, I was a little worried that it was so silly, but luckily my character's miserable a lot, and being miserable dressed like a buffoon is great. And so that's sort of where the idea came from. But yeah, it was sort of like a midlife crisis inspired kind of LA hip, plugged into the community look. Yeah.
Has it shaped in any way the way you write, Will? No.
I mean,
You add more jokes about people making
yeah,
fun
we
of
make
calorie
fun,
kisses. Yeah.
people make fun of but it wasn't, and it was also one of these things, and this also happened with because of the second before we started the second season, Seth was like, I think he should have a mullet, and and I was like, what are you talking about? He was like, everyone has mullets now, and it was like one of those things where like
I was because we shot the show a while ago, so I was like, I saw the mullet coming, like I saw the mullet writing on the wall. Yeah, I was like, we're heading for mullets.
Yeah.
It's inevitable. I see it. I
like,
saw
it's here.
I saw the wave on the horizon. Yeah, I did. Yeah.
you can tell the future of like weird.
It was actually, we were shooting in the studio, and there was one grip on our crew who like, he just showed up one day with a mullet, and I was just like, oh my God, we've entered the mullet. Like, and then our same hair people work on the studio, and I was like, the mullet, you see this guy's fucking mullet? I want the mullet. And thank God I didn't actually have to have the mullet, and they like attached the mullet to my head. Also like that I'm bald, like a guy who's balding with a mullet, which I was in the show, is the saddest look a man can have objectively in the world. Period, end of story. Bald patch, mullet. Don't do that.
Season 3.
He said, but it was also one of those things where when you're like, everyone has mullets, I suddenly saw them. Like,
Yeah, they were everywhere.
Here, yeah.
He-
I manifested it.
Right. He was right. Listen to Seth. Before we wrap, can you tell me what it's like saying penguini constantly? And then Francesca and Nicholas, where the heck did that come from? Seth?
It's pretty embarrassing. I didn't like it. I didn't like to do that. I eventually grew peace with it. I'm probably someone who has suffered from like girlfriend voice at times in my life. And so, yeah, I think that's why I really cut deep, because I was like, not only is it humiliating to have to do this, I think I do this. I don't say pinguini. I don't do that.
That's the worst you've said.
I don't even know. I don't think I've never had like, I don't know. Honestly, now that you say it, probably something pretty bad that I don't even want to share. It's humiliating. I'm actually humiliated by it. It was embarrassing to do. I'd rather like be buck naked in a scene than have to do like baby talking to a phone.
Do you remember reading it in the script the first time?
I do. And being like, oof, this is a rough one. But it was funny. It made me laugh. Yeah.
Yeah. Where did it come from?
We were sitting in the writer's room and we were like, what is the most embarrassing pet name you could ever imagine? And there was like 30 seconds of silence. There were like 8 of us in there and it was totally silent. And then one of the writers went, Penguini. You're like, duh. And there was never a second pick. There was never a runner-up.
Did people ask questions?
We shot an origin story. Like he explains where
I
I came
explained
from.
it.
And
We like penguins.
it's worse to not even know.
yeah.
Like they went on a date to like the aquarium. Where there's a whole backstory. It's like
Right, right.
better to just not know. It's just this horrible.
A lot of my shirts had like penguins in them.
Yeah. When we saw the big penguin at the
You
end,
take it up, yeah, the big penguin. There's a penguin here.
haunted by them.
It was good. I liked it though. In the end. And then one day we were shooting, and there was a restaurant across the street called the Penguini,
Yeah, Cafe Penguini.
and we were like, "What the fuck is happening? What is happening right now? It's the craziest thing I've ever seen in my life." I thought I was losing my mind. I was like, "Oh, they broke my brain." But no, the Cafe Penguini in Long Beach, I think, right? Yeah.
It
Word.
was intentional.
It was really weird. It was a weird moment. Yeah.
Weird.
Well, we really enjoyed watching this and look forward to more. Please, Apple.
Please, Apple.
Thanks for taking the time to be with us. For everyone, thank you so much for being here. We ask if you could just stay seated while our guests make their exit, but thanks so much for being here.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah.
With this phone.